So you've been letting your water sit out overnight. Good. Textbook hydroponic advice. You've seen it everywhere, forums, grow guides, probably a YouTube video or 12. Let the chlorine gas off, protect your roots, move on with your life. Solid plan. There's just one problem, and its name is chloramine. And chloramine, unlike chlorine, didn't get the memo about off-gassing. So let's talk about what's actually in your tap water and why the advice you've been getting is maybe only half right at best. Because sitting there watching your reservoir like it's gonna fix itself is just not the move. All right, chlorine first, because the sit-out method, it's definitely not completely wrong or made up. There's real chemistry to support it. Municipal water suppliers, they add chlorine to your drinking water as a disinfectant. It kills bacteria, viruses, keeps the water coming out of your tap from being genuinely dangerous, which, fair enough, I like not having cholera. Good call on that one. But here's the thing about chlorine though. It's volatile. It exists in tap water as a gas and as hypochlorous acid. Given enough time, enough surface area, and some aeration, and it'll off-gas. It'll leave the water. An air stone running in an open reservoir overnight genuinely does reduce free chlorine concentration. So the advice works for chlorine, which would be great if chlorine was still what most water suppliers were using. Water suppliers have been quietly switching from chlorine to chloramine for years. They wanted something that wouldn't off-gas, that wasn't volatile, that would make it all the way from the facility to your tap and do its job disinfecting your water. I mean, the audacity. Chloramine is formed by combining chlorine with ammonia. More stable than free chlorine, more persistent, better at surviving the long journey from treatment facilities all the way to your tap. From a public water management standpoint, genuinely smarter chemistry. Great for drinking water, not so great for your hydroponic reservoir. Chloramine does not off-gas. It's not volatile. It does not respond to aeration. You can run 3 air stones in an open reservoir for a week, and the chloramine concentration at the end of that week will be essentially identical to what it was day one. That overnight sit for chloramine, completely useless. Now, before you spiral, go to your municipal water supplier's website and pull up their water quality report. It's public information, they're actually required to publish it. You can search for your city name and water quality report, and you'll find out right there whether you're dealing with chlorine or chloramine. It takes 30 seconds, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about whether the last 2 years of letting your water sit out actually did anything. So chloramine's likely in your water, and it's not leaving on its own. What does that really mean for your plant though? Well, at the concentrations coming out of your tap, chloramine isn't gonna straight up kill your plants. I just wanna be clear about that. But they're not thriving the way they should either, and here's why. Chloramine is an antimicrobial. That's its entire job description. And it does that job in your reservoir and root zone with the exact same enthusiasm that it does in your water supply. It doesn't know the difference between a dangerous pathogen in a water pipe and a beneficial bacterium in your root zone. It's not that discerning. So for growers running synthetic nutrients and a clean hydroponic system like I usually do, this is a manageable concern. Chronic low-level antimicrobial exposure at the root surface, it does create stress and it can interfere with nutrient uptake, but honestly, your plants will generally push through it. They're not happy about it, but they'll push through it. For anyone running beneficial bacteria or mycorrhizal inoculates, compost teas, organic nutrients, anything living in the root zone, chloramine is a much more serious problem. You're introducing a disinfectant into a system while you're simultaneously trying to populate it with microorganisms. Those two goals are actually working directly against each other, and chloramine wins the argument every time. There's also a sneaky little chemistry issue worth knowing about. As chloramine breaks down, remember it's part chlorine and part ammonia, so it releases that ammonia into your reservoir. Slow, continuous, unaccounted for ammonia addition into your nutrient solution, which affects your nitrogen balance, which affects your pH stability, in ways that are genuinely difficult to diagnose if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. All right, so here's the part that's gonna mess with your head a little. Chlorine is an essential plant nutrient. I know, I've been telling you this whole time, we have chlorine, chloramine, we gotta figure it out, we gotta get it out of our system, here's what it's gonna do to our plant. But actually, in very small trace amounts, chlorine is required for your plant's growth. In its ionic form, chlorine, an anion, is Cl negative. Chlorine plays a genuine role in plant biology. It's involved in photosynthesis, specifically in water splitting reaction in the photosystem too. It also helps regulate stomata opening and closing. It's the same guard cell mechanism that controls transpiration and water usage. It contributes to osmotic adjustment. It helps your plant manage internal water pressure. Your plant needs chloride to function. Now, before you close this video and pour tap water directly into your reservoir, the concentrations coming out of your municipal water supply, they're far higher than what your plant actually needs as a nutrient. And your nutrient solution is already providing adequate chloride through other compounds. So treating your water is still absolutely the right call. No matter what the nutrient, if you add too much, it's called a toxicity. You can have a nitrogen, a calcium, phosphorus toxicity just by adding too much to your garden. The exact same is true for chlorine or chloride. Okay, solutions. First option, activated carbon filtration. Carbon filters work on both chlorine and chloramine through a process called adsorption. The molecules, they bind to the carbon surface and they get pulled out of the solution. An inline carbon filter on your water line, it handles this passively every time you fill up. Fairly low cost, fairly low maintenance, genuinely effective. The trade-off is that filters have a finite lifespan and they need to be replaced. And the flow rate through carbon is much slower than unfiltered. But for hobbyists and for mid-scale growers, this is probably the most practical starting point. Second option, reverse osmosis. RO pushes water through a membrane under pressure and it removes essentially everything dissolved in it. Chloramine, chloride, heavy metals, excess minerals, gone. You start with water that's as close to pure as you're gonna get outside a laboratory, and you build your nutrient profile from scratch with complete control over every ion in the solution. For serious growers who are already dialing in their nutrient programs with precision, RO is the gold standard. Now, if this video made you think differently about what's moving through your system, good, because we're just getting started. Next, we're doing a deep dive on something that drives everything in your system. I mean, everything. Nutrient uptake, water management, oxygen, gas exchange, structural integrity. It's been happening in your plant every single day, and most growers manage it with a chart that they really vaguely understand. Until now. I'm Chad from Humble Growth. Let's grow food, let's grow freedom, let's grow smarter. See you in the next one.